Today's guest might be one of the most controversial figures in the Western world. Tommy Robinson has been called everything from a free speech dissident to a dangerous agitator. Now, supporters say that he's exposed grooming gang scandals that the British establishment has tried to bury. Critics say he fuels anti-Muslim sentiment and far-right politics. His rallies have drawn massive crowds and massive protests. He's been arrested, banned from social media, removed from banks, and at times effectively erased from the digital public square until voices like Elon Musk stepped in. Now Robinson says he's sounding the alarm for America about mass immigration and cultural conflict in Europe and what he believes happens when governments suppress debate. So is he exposing uncomfortable truths the media won't touch, or spreading division that makes the problem worse? Bigots or patriot? Decide for yourself. Here we go. Keeping it real with Jillian Michaels. Tommy Robinson, welcome to America. How does that feel?
Feels great. A long time coming. I've wanted to come for years, so.
Is this the first time that you've been here?
No, I was here. I got refused entry in 2009. So I'd been 3 times prior to that, but once I started opening my mouth and exercising my free speech in the UK, I wasn't allowed into America after that.
That was the Obama administration.
It was the Obama administration. I come for the September 11th is what I visited for, what I wanted to visit for. But I've been embedded, I guess, in American politics. I've been following American politics, commenting on American politics for as long as I can remember. So I've been heavily interested in them. And I've got to come here now. I've met Roger Stone, I've met General Flynn, I've been to see Lara Logan, lots of different people. And I've always wanted to visit America, so I'm blessed to be here.
Are you here permanently?
No, I'm here as working. I'm here as a journalist. I'm here to A, ask questions, but B, give a warning to America. I wish, when I come here, I actually give a speech in New York 16 years ago called A Warning to America. And at that time, I wish someone come to my hometown or my country and told me 30 or 40 years ago, this is what's going to happen, this is how it's going to happen. So I come with a warning, not of what I've read, but what I've lived. When I was born in 1982, my hometown had 1 mosque. We now have 45. White English, like myself, we're a minority. So there's huge problems in the UK. Obviously not from every Muslim, because some of the best people I've met growing up in my hometown are Muslim. But there's a big problem. And that big problem, your borders have been opened by Joe Biden. The seed has been planted, and you're going to experience exactly the same as what I've experienced. So
give me this warning first, and then I want to talk about that percentage, because there's a lot of pushback on, it's just a small percentage, it's just 1%, it's just 6%, it's just a tiny percentage. Okay. But first, let's start with the warning. What is that warning?
The warning is what I've experienced, what we've experienced in the UK with open border mass immigration, and then the problems that come from it. So, as I said, I'm from a town called Luton Town. It's 30 miles north of London. What I witnessed growing up was segregation, non-assimilation, non-integration. So the town is divided. It's divided via religious lines, not racial lines, religious lines. When I went to school, you had the Muslim playground and the non-Muslim playground. We didn't create that. So I was brought up, my mum was an immigrant to the UK. She come from Ireland, but most of my friends are sons of immigrants. Luton Town is one of the most diverse towns in Europe. It's also named by the CIA as the epicenter of terrorist activities for Europe. That's Luton Town. That's where I've been born. So problems that were far away when you think of terrorism or you think of jihad or you think of all these things, they weren't far away when I was growing up. I knew kids that went to school with, that went to fight for ISIS, friends I grew up with who ended up in jail, becoming members of ISIS. When we talk about terrorism and jihad, we literally have to share our town centre with them. So that's my upbringing. There's an issue now. Have you heard of grooming gangs?
Yes, but I would like for you to talk about that from start to finish as though I never have for the audience.
When I was 13 or 14 years old, my cousin was a similar age, and she woke up with bearded men in a house in the Muslim community where she was being ganged. Now, she run from the house. The street shoots then rang her father. Her father went down and got. I can remember the fallout, the family fallout, the discussions, but the police would do nothing. Now, these things are going to sound unbelievable to an audience. You have to really go down the rabbit hole on what was allowed to happen in our country. In our country, across every town and city, there was conspiracy of silence of political leaders, religious leaders. Every institution whose job it was to protect children failed. They allowed a generation of Britain's daughters to be raped raped. Sorry.
No.
They
Go ahead.
allowed a generation of Britain's daughters to come under,
Speak freely.
to be kidnapped, tortured, and across the whole of the UK. Now, my cousin was one of these victims. But so growing up in Luton, I'd seen this. Do you know how many girls I went to school with whose parents they went missing? The girls were gone. The girls were gone, disappeared. So I'd seen this growing up my whole life. I'd seen the Islamic community act in a way where the authorities, the government, the police just didn't deal with the crimes. They just did not. They just were allowed. And it wasn't like I use the term that it was iron fists for the black and white community, but kid gloves for the Islamic community. There was no level playing field in how we were treated. And now these terminologies of two-tier policing, they've become part of British vocabulary now. Everyone understands this problem. But I saw it very early on, and I spoke about it very early on. My first ever time of talking about this issue, I organised my first protest in 2004.
Wow.
I was a young man, yeah. 2004, I called it
This was happening in 2004?
Oh no, this has been happening since the 60s and 70s in the UK, since the start. It's been covered up.
I did not know that.
No, it's actually...
I had no idea.
We heard about it once, so I'll give you the back. So 2004, I organised a demonstration. I was a young man, and I called it Ban the Luton Taliban. Now, this was after... Do you remember the Beslem School Massacre? No. So the Beslem School Massacre was, everyone has a moment that opens their eyes.
Yeah.
And once your eyes are open, it's hard to close them if you realise the danger and the threat. So Beslem School Massacre was, and this is coming, it's coming to America, it's going to come to Europe. So a school was taken over by Chechen jihadists, and it was a school full of children. And as they took over the school, the parents would come outside the school, so I can still see it now. So I visually see it. And as they started massacring the children inside the school, Russian children, then the parents would drop into their knees. There's nothing they could do. So I was just thinking about that. Imagine being outside a kid's school. Your kids are inside the school. Jihadists have took over the school. But for me, it wasn't that. So for me, I was trying to understand, this isn't one mad man here. This is a large group of men that are coming together and believe this behaviour is acceptable. Like, they've kidnapped kids and they're butchering them in school. So I just, at that point, started looking to understand who these men were, what was the mindset, what is jihad. Yeah. And as I started looking into it, I found a group of Muslims in a chicken shop in my hometown giving an interview and a video on YouTube at the time, saying that an attack like this would be justified in a UK school. So then for me, as a young man, Luton's a working class town. It's rated the roughest town in Britain. It's a rough town with real problems. I grew up amongst those problems in that town. Not just the Islamic problems. Luton's a rough town, a very violent town. So I grew up and I saw these group of men, and I wanted to know more about, well, to me, I thought, who are you? And so then I found out that they were part of a group called Al-Mujahideen.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know who they are?
Yes.
So
yeah.
Omar Bakri Abu Hamza. So just so the audience understands, 60% of terrorists in the UK prisons are ex-members of this group. So this group was, and their head office for this group was in my town. So when I started looking, I thought, right, I looked at who they were, and then I looked at their literature, and I went down to the town centre on a Saturday, because every Saturday outside Don Miller's, which is a bakery, it's just like a national bakery chain, every Saturday these groups would have big pace tables. They're literally promoting jihad and war against us, which I'm seeing now coming out of many mosques in America. Yeah, they're literally...
I've got some video to show
okay.
you.
They're literally calling for war, yeah? So I remember, and the police were there, and I went up to the police officer and said, what is this? And how are they allowed to do this?
How are they allowed to do it? We're asking the same question. How? But in America...
Yeah, they're going to use your constitution against you.
I know,
but
it's like, it's an impossible situation. Because on one hand, who decides what's acceptable speech the minute you start saying, oh, well, that's not okay. But you could say that, but you can't say that. But the one thing I want to ask you, though, is you're saying in Britain, how are you allowed to do this? We're seeing British people who are complaining about this on social media go to jail. So you don't have the same luxury that we have here. So how are they allowed to do that?
Well, they're allowed to do whatever they want. So nothing was policed against them. So basically they can stand on the call. So you're right, 30 people a day are arrested in the UK, 12,000 last year, arrested for things they said on social media. It's not Muslims getting arrested for calling for jihad. Okay, these laws are brought in to police and to silence any criticism of the government's status quo or their narrative or their agenda. Now, the government's agenda for 30 years has been to flood our nation, open border, mass immigration, and then obviously when someone starts talking about the problems from that, they want to censor, destroy and silence that person, because if the public are allowed to understand the real danger that comes from open border mass immigration from Islamic nations, these are nations that have totally different value systems to us. Like if you look at Afghanistan, this is Pew Research, 99% of Afghanis want Sharia law.
Yeah.
So when you import these people into your country, I've just seen you've got gangs happening now from Afghani migrants. I saw a case yesterday in America. But these problems, an Afghani migrant in the UK is 22 times more likely to commit a sexual assault than a British citizen.
It's cultural.
So it's a total different value system.
Yeah.
You open your borders to it. These are the problems that come from it. And if the public were allowed to realise the dangers and problems that come from it, they'll start looking at the government, because it's government failure and policy that's allowed this to happen. And rather than allow this discussion in the UK, the tactic has been to crush or silence any criticism whilst they maintain their open border policy.
Why I could tell you why in America we think that's happening.
Yeah.
It has to do with gaming our apportionment map and seats in Congress and electoral college votes. So you want a bigger population in your state. So famously, our governor in California,
Get more money.
well, if you have 1.5 million citizens leave California and go to Nashville, Austin, Miami, right, all these other states, he's going to lose seats in Congress. California loses seats in Congress, which means they're losing power. And California loses votes in the Electoral College. So it's not a democracy, it's a republic. So like your vote kind of counts in that it affects the ways your state's Electoral College votes go. So long story short, he replaced those 1.5 million with 1 million people that are not citizens. Because the way it works here is you don't have to be a citizen for that body to count on our census, and that's what allots the seats in Congress and the seats in the Electoral College. But so I could make that case here. That's the theory that Elon Musk, of course, made, who I know has paid your legal bills, which we'll get to. But in the UK, I don't understand what is the logic to open the border.
They're replacing our population with a loyal vote bank. And when I say a loyal vote bank, you'll understand very soon in America, they vote in a military fashion. They vote for who their imam tells them to vote for. That's
but they're going to tell them to vote for a person who is not British, I would imagine.
No, not always. No, because the Labour Party, the alliance between the left, and this isn't, look, there's a new left. When we say the left, my family are from a generation of Labour voters, left-wing working class voters. We're the working class.
Yep.
Not anymore. We've been betrayed. We've been sold out. They've destroyed our nation, and they've replaced us. So again, I'll just bring you back to my hometown to explain why they do this and where the future lies for all of us. Is that in my hometown in 2013, I looked at the projected growth forecast for communities by 2030. So that's a 17-year period. The Bangladeshi and Pakistani community were going to increase by 70 to 77%. The white and black by 1.2 to 1.4. So the local Labour Party know that the future for this town, we become irrelevant. And I've seen what it's like to become irrelevant. It means funding. It means everything. It means that, when I started, fast forward, the background of Luton, I started my first protest. I faced a furor of attacks from Islamic gangs. The street gangs align with the radical jihadist groups. Now, I named the street gangs in 2004. There's a gang in Luton, not very original, but they call themselves the Gambinos. They're probably 100 to 200 strong Pakistani mob of drug dealer, heroin dealers, pimps. They shoot young children. And these are the gangs that are behind the grooming. So I made a leaflet, and it made front page of my paper. I dug this leaflet up to show it in 2015 when I give a presentation to Oxford University. And I've done it to show that my rhetoric, my voice has never changed. Yeah? So in 2004, what I said is that whites and blacks are being religiously and racially targeted in this town. The police are allowing it to happen. We know which businesses they're using to shoot children. We know the drug shops. Why is nothing being done about it? Why are we treated? So we could be victims, and you've seen this, and people across the UK see this.
I've seen all the videos.
We could be a victim of a race crime against us.
Yeah.
The police would turn up and we'd be a victim again to the law, because they don't deal with them. They're scared of them. They're totally scared of the way they mobilise, the violence they're willing to use, and then the government and the councils just pander the whole time for the block vote. They pander. They literally will not upset the community, the Islamic community. Now, even if you look, and I'll draw it back to America, Somalians have come from the hottest place.
I knew you were going to say Minneapolis.
But they've come from the hottest place in the world. Why do you think they've ended up in Minnesota? Like, is it Minnesota?
It is.
Why have they ended up in one of the coldest parts of the United States?
It's so bizarre.
They haven't chose there. They've been put there. Just so you understand. So these are plantations of new voters who will, when it comes to the birth rate, will far exceed anything you're going to have. So the population growth will explode like it has across Europe, like it has in every British city. We have become 33% of London is now English. 33%. We've lost our capital. Yeah, Paris has gone. To Americans, Paris has gone. It's gone. Okay, Berlin's gone. The major capitals have gone. Now, they're not coming back from this cultural change, this total shift in value systems, and then the way that the politics work, and it becomes about where you're from and what you and what religion you are when they come to vote. It's not about anything else now. So we've caused such sectarian politics in the UK, which has been imported in Pakistani politics. But these problems. So in 2004, I stood up, and in this leaflet, I named the gang. Now, actually, I show this in Oxford University.
I'm surprised you're alive, I'll be honest.
Well, they come, but 3 years. But at that time, I'm very honest. I don't claim to have been an angel. I'm not an angel sitting here polishing my halo. I was a young lad from a working class background, and I gravitated as a young man towards a football culture in the UK.
Sure.
So I went football on a Saturday with 200 other young men. We went to football. So when it come to the terrorists at the time in 2004, it was 200 young English men who were turning up to say, "You're not having our town centre." At the time, 2004. Yeah.
Okay.
Now that resulted in clashes with the terrorist and jihadist groups and the drug gangs who want to take over the town. They successfully took over the town now, but this is going back to 2004. I made myself a target. 3 years later, I show it in my Oxford Union presentation. National newspapers run a headline story called Chemical Jihad, where they allege, which is exactly what I was telling them, that the drug gangs work alongside the terrorist groups and they're using heroin as a weapon for A, funding, and B, to destroy our communities. Now, I know there were riots in our estates when they were bringing heroin in. They were literally kidnapping people, and the gangs were. And the police crushed the English kids. They crushed us. They crushed our lads on our estate and let them just have full reign. And it's the same with the prison system. But this goes back to 2004. Fast forward to 2009, I've seen all the problems. By the time I get to 2009, I'm 25. I'm running 2 successful companies. I've got a family. I've got 7 properties. I'm doing very well as a young man in business. And I'd got through all the problems from this. I've moved on with my life. And then that same group attacked a soldiers' homecoming parade. I went down on a Tuesday morning. This was the changing moment of my life. It's because I went down on a Tuesday morning to pay respect for our armed forces as they were given the freedom of the city. Now, our armed forces were returning back from Afghanistan or Iraq, but they were the Royal Anglian Regiment. Scott Muntridge was 26. He died fighting from that regiment. And Michael Swain was 19. With these lads from our estate, he lost his legs. So when people went down to pay respects to their families, as they were allowed to walk through the city, I stood and watched as I saw about 30 niqabs together, which is quite a sight in one group.
30 what?
Niqabs, full face coverings.
Okay.
So many of the Muslim women wear this.
Yes, fully, right, just your eyes show. I understand.
So many women. I saw that, and then I saw, because I know the terrorist group, so then I saw their leader, second in command of the whole group, called Saif al-Islam, his name is, which translates as Sword of Islam. I saw him, I saw Roger Ibrahim, I saw all these terrorists together, and I saw the police walk them as they opened up my town hall, so my council building. They walked them through, and there was a big group of them, and I thought, what's happening here? There's so many police around. And then I just heard the commotion, and what they'd done is they'd walked them. So as our soldiers walked down the road here, they'd walk them through the town hall, open the back door, and allowed them to confront our soldiers. So as our soldiers were walking past, they were spitting at them. They spat in one of the soldiers' mums' faces. They called them butchers of Basra, baby killers. Now look, have your view on the war, have your view on the war. Those young men swear allegiance to Queen and country. They don't choose the war or the conflict. They go to defend our nation and its values. Now I think we've been lied to about many of the wars, but at that time, when I stood there and watched it that day, I'd seen even when the Jewish families, which have all left Luton now, the actual old synagogue is the main terrorist jihadist mosque now. It's been raided on terrorism, but that's the old synagogue. I remember when Jews remembering the Holocaust, a Jewish family, and they had to barricade themselves inside the town hall as hundreds of Muslims turned up. I've seen Gaza war protests where they're literally thousands and thousands are coming out chanting Kayuba, Kayuba. So very early on, I learned...
What's Kayuba?
It's
I know Allahu Akbar.
No, it's when these are the questions I asked as a youngster. So I started looking in and understanding what they're saying. It's when a Jewish tribe surrendered to Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad, false Prophet Muhammad, but they surrendered, and he beheaded 600 of them in the day, and then he raped the leader of the tribe. He married her that night, Sophia. So if you want to know how Muhammad met his wife Sophia, he slaughtered her whole family, and then that night he married her. So if we think she willingly had sex with him that night, we know what happened.
Actually, I didn't know that.
But all of these things...
I do know about like the 9-year-old child bride, but it's like, well, that's just normal for the time.
You'll hear them now. You hear them in New York chanting Kayuba, Kayuba. They're
I have
celebrating.
some stuff to show you from New York, actually. Tell me if any of this looks familiar. This is the past week. So the first one, guys, let's do SOT number 2. Take a look at this one.
You make us proud.
Al-Qassam, you make us proud.
Kill another soldier now.
Kill another soldier now.
Al-Qassam, you make us proud.
Al-Qassam, you make us proud.
Kill another soldier now.
We will honor Khomeini.
From the belly of the beast.
From the belly of the beast.
We will honor Khomeini.
We will honor Khomeini.
From the belly of the beast.
From the belly.
So those are the Americans. Our version of you guys is there was a full showdown, right? What ends up happening at this showdown is Americans now stage a protest, okay? So I want to get this 100% right. So there's a protest in New York outside of Gracie Mansion, which is where Mom Donnie and his wife are living now. That's the mayor of New York. And it's called the Stop Islamic Takeover of New York City, Stop New York City's Public Muslim Prayer. So then, of course, the Muslims show up. I should say the radical Islamists show up. Let me make that clear distinction. And what ends up happening is a couple of kids who are inspired by ISIS make homemade bombs. They get tackled by the police. And here's how the mayor responds to this, okay? So he goes, yesterday, white supremacist Jake Lang organized a protest outside of Gracie Mansion rooted in bigotry and racism. Such hate has no place in New York City. It's an affront to our city values and the unity that defines who we are. What followed was even more disturbing. Now he does call out the violence. Violence at a protest is never acceptable. Like, you could have used stronger language. It's never acceptable. And then he goes, the attempt to use an explosive device and hurt others is not only criminal, it's reprehensible, and it's the antithesis of who we are. And he thanks the NYPD. But he calls the group of Americans who are alarmed white supremacists, despite the fact that he knows as well as anyone does that radical Islam is not a race, it's an ideology. But he doesn't call the group that's inspired by ISIS that tried to kill everybody radical terrorists.
If you read that, you wouldn't know who the bombs were part of. So and the same with the mainstream media. I've read the mainstream media's reporting on this. Now, thank God for Elon Musk, because if we didn't have Elon Musk and X was still controlled by the deep state, then you'd read these headlines and you'd think it was the white Americans who bought an explosive, because nowhere is it defined in the mainstream media. I saw NSBC, is it? I've seen CNN. They don't define who the bombs are. They don't define they shouted Allah Akbar.
Oh my God, you're absolutely right. It doesn't say that.
No, they don't. So when you read it, now think about going, let's reverse.
I'm reading it again now.
But reverse 3-4 years, 5 years, yeah? Go back. Now, if we didn't have...
He absolutely does not say that at all. You're right.
Neither
what
did the news.
Followed was even more disturbing. Violence at a protest is never acceptable.
And whose protest is he talking about? White supremacists. So if you don't...
Oh my God, I didn't even notice that, Tommy.
And all the mainstream media. Go and look at the CNN's report on that. None of them define. So if you just read their media and you didn't have X and you didn't have the platforms or you didn't have discussion shows like this, which remember we didn't have 4 or 5 years ago. Everything was controlled. Republicans were censored. Voices like this, I was invisible. I was deleted from every single social media there is. I was blocked from everything. Yeah. So before Elon Musk bought X, everyone reading this would read it that there was a bomb. It was white supremacist. And it's not acceptable. And the media done the same. So if you're just picking up the headlines, then you're thinking, you don't realise that Allah Akbar has been screamed by a jihadist who has now confirmed, and at the time, that it's for ISIS.
Your skincare might just be more toxic than your food, right? So how you need to choose healthy food, you also got to be careful about what you put on your body. I've become so hyper aware of every product I use. I read the labels, I research the ingredients, and when you do that, you realize just how many toxic chemicals we let into our daily routine. Like, check the label on your moisturizer. It reads like a lab report. You want to swap those toxic moisturizers for Cow Guy's Tallow Balm. This is a natural, hydrating balm with ingredients you can actually pronounce. It's safe and it's more effective than conventional alcohol or water-based lotions. Your skin's gonna glow and it's so much better for your health in the long run. Tallow Balm has been used for generations before Big Pharma ruined skincare. You can use it as a lotion on your hands, your arms, your legs, your face, and even your lips. You can use it for eczema, psoriasis. If you have dry skin or normal skin, you can use it as an everyday moisturizer. And you know what else? It's American made and it's rancher owned by a company in Texas. It's the best tallow balm that you can find. So search up cowguys.com to get your tallow balm and get a mini tallow balm free. No special code needed. That's 3 to 4 months of moisturizer for $34 only. That's only $34 for 3 to 4 months of moisturizer. So not only are you leaving out the chemicals, you're saving a ton of money. Search up cowguys.com to grab your free tallow balm with your order today.
Now, look at Mandani's response here. Yeah? This is a serious terrorist attack by someone who's declared their loyalty against America, against Americans. And you see the men you've just seen on your screen. This is the warning, yeah? You see those men that you've seen calling for support of the Ayatollah and against America. Well, we had this 20 years ago. And they were allowed on the streets, and I am very surprised at how vocal they are in the United States of America. They are so...
more to show you.
Yeah, I know.
A lot more.
In mosques. Did you see the imam in the mosque when Mandani went there? So he goes there, he goes to a mosque, and then he steps off the stage. The imam gets up and calls for murder against the infidels.
What?
Yeah. I'll send you this. You can stick it in. So literally, obviously not in our language, but when you translate what he's saying, this is straight after Mandani. Pronouncing it right. That's straight after he's in the mosque. He steps off, the imam gets up, and he calls for the obliteration and the murder of the infidels. Straight after.
So we thank you very much for this, and we pray daily for your success in this journey, inshallah. Thank you.
وأسأل الله أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن يجعلني من المنتظرين لك والتابعين والناصرين لك على أعدائك والمستشهدين بين يديك في جملة أوليائك والفرج فيه للمؤمنين على يديك وقتل الكافرين بسيفك.
Now the problem you've got is that the left, just like across Europe, just like they did in Lebanon, just like they did in Iran, the left are siding because many of the left, which, look, it's probably wrong to say the left, it's what now has become of the left. Because 20 years ago, I don't think most people whether they take their values, some from the left, some from the right, yeah? And the left's values have totally changed. They've totally changed what it means to be a supporter of the left. It's now become so separated, so violent, so hostile, so extreme, no room for discussions, no room for a debate. It's just an attack. And we're seeing this, and then the weaponization of these groups who are well funded, whether it be Antifa, and they're literally aligning and paid to cause this sort of animosity, this sort of hostility, this sort of violence, which is what we're seeing. You can't speak anymore. You can't have a discussion anymore. Now, the left used to be for free speech, not anymore. So something has shifted. But what you're seeing in New York, it's just the seed. You're not even seeing. I try to describe it as, this is the trailer for the movie that hasn't started yet. you better brace yourselves, America, because you used to talk.
Okay.
I used to listen to Americans. I used to listen to Americans talk about immigration, and you're on about Hispanic, Mexican. And I used to think, God, give us that, please. Like, you have no idea. Now, your borders, and because of your immigration system and the way that you could get into the United States, you had to be educated, you had to have money, you had to pass all these checks. So you got the best. That's what you used to get. You got the best, yeah? So some of the Muslim immigration you've had would be well-educated from a financial background, not tribal, not coming from the caves in Afghanistan, yeah? Mm-hmm. Well, over the last 8 years, your borders have been totally opened, and it's been organised, because so have ours. It's not a mistake, and they've come from Somalia, Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, the worst of the worst, yeah? The worst of the worst is what your borders have been open to. And the consequences of this, and this isn't fear-mongering, and it's not, and again, listen, I'm not saying that every Muslim is a problem. I'm not saying that.
No, and I want to address that.
Yeah.
However, if
you don't know who is a problem and you don't know who's not.
Okay, well, and if we were to go back to, let's say, Trump's first term, when he was going to implement a Muslim ban, I was horrified.
And it wasn't a Muslim ban. It wasn't a Muslim ban. He was implementing a ban on countries that do not share intelligence with you, that do not have a stable government. So, for example, if we had that ban in the UK, the same one that he wanted to implement in 2016, or he tried to implement or did implement, then a Libyan in the UK who went to Libya, got bomb training, he blew up 26 kids. That would not have happened if we had that ban. Do you know how many attacks in Europe wouldn't have happened just off that ban? Because what Trump was saying is, which is just logical, it's just the hysteria that the media created and the left created around this. What he's saying is, we need to protect America. Now, we don't share intelligence. We have no database from Libya because the country's fell. It's governed by terrorists. We don't know who's who. Same with Somalia. Yeah? We don't know who's who. There's no law system. We don't share intelligence. So we don't know who's a terrorist, who's a jihadist. We don't have any shared intelligence. So it's a danger to allow people to go to these countries that have terrorist groups, that are controlled by terrorist groups, which is what happened in the UK. Salman Abedi, who could recite the Quran without looking at it, he's a terrorist in the UK. He went to Libya. He got weapons training and bomb training. He come back and blew up 26 children at an Ariana Grande concert. That would not have happened.
I remember that. Oh my God. I just
that
didn't know
have
the
happened.
circumstances around
That
it.
wouldn't have happened. So either we care about saving the 26 kids, or you care about a few people's hurt feelings. Immigration to the United States is not right. It's not right. It's for you to choose as a country and to make sure it benefits your country. The same as what it's meant to be. My government's decision to import, it's supposed to be what's best for Britain and British people. And their job, first and foremost, is to protect British people. And they've failed miserably. Do you understand the statistics, which I want to get onto, just for your audience? Because if you care about women, yeah, I care about British women. And
it's 200,000.
No, it's so we went in 2003 from 8,800 to 2023, 88,000. Now you can draw a graph for this. You can take the figures from 1975. There was 364 reps or 400 reps in Sweden. Last year was 32,000 reps. Now, and people say, well, what's that to do? It's very clear what to do. If you can draw a graph from Islamic immigration, and you can draw a graph from the statistics. So in the UK, Muslim men make up 3% of the British population. 3%.
That's nothing though. That's
well, they're responsible for 90% of the gang, and 30% of the men who have committed these gang rapes are called Mohammed. If you want to look at statistics in Germany, I think it's 56 or 58% of the rapes were by Muslim migrants. They make up less than 10%. Sweden, 63%. 63% of the rapes in Sweden, Muslim migrants imported into the nation, have come in and they're raping their way through the country. And that's the same in the UK. Murders, rapes, 77% of the rapes last year in Paris. 77% of the rapes in Paris. Now, again, is this something you're willing to sacrifice and play a game with?
Do you remember, I'm sure you do, the Summer Olympics where one of the girls was raped and she pretended that she couldn't identify her attacker because she was afraid of
being called racist?
Yes.
Well, in the UK, this is...
Yes.
So we get to 2009. This is my story. I do this first demonstration. I face relentless attacks, violence. My house is smashed up. But at the time, I'm part of a group of young Englishmen that go to football together. Yeah, and so if I went out on the town for those 4 or 5 years, I had to go out in a group of 20 or 30 men, because otherwise I'm under attack. Now, so I know at this point, I've grown up with Muslims. I know how they act. I know how they behave. I know how they think. I know all of it, yeah? I've grown up in that environment, and I know there's only one thing they actually respect, and it's strength, and that's just a fact. They respect strength. You show them weakness, they'll run all over it. So come to 2009, our soldiers are attacked. I then decide that, and I sit down with my cousin and say, if we allow this, like the progression here, and it actually moves on, you see where it goes, because this same group who protested against our soldiers and attacked our soldiers, well, 2 years later, they beheaded one of our soldiers. And the man who beheaded him, I'd already made a video telling the public who he was the year before. And looking at this group, this was the group that we were confronting, yeah? And they went on to behead Lee Rigby, as a British soldier, in the streets of our capital city. They took his head off in the street, yeah? Now, this was the progression of a process. What you're seeing there in New York, this is where it's going. I'm telling you, this is, and there's nowhere else it's going, okay? Especially as in the United States, they've got firearms. So you're going to see an explosion coming to your country that you need to prepare for. And you're quite lucky, but lucky in the sense that you've got brave politicians, even talk show hosts, that are willing to have this discussion. This is a difficult discussion to have.
I know, because everyone just calls you Islamophobe and racist and bigot.
And that's it. No one wants to listen to it. But the reality is, we've got to be courageous. You've got to be fearless. Because what's more important? Is it you being labelled a name? Are you worried about being branded a name? Or are you worried about the 26 kids who died in Manchester's arena? Are you worried about the statistics that are now being imported into your country? Are these are the things you need to be worried about. Now, what's more important, and this is what's happened to the UK, you've paralysed an entire nation of what I'd say were the toughest men on the planet. Britain is known, it's in our DNA to fight, and the whole country sat down and let women be. And the statistics, just so people can understand. 2009 comes, I start an organisation, we call it the English Defence League. It does as it says on the tin. You know, we were there to defend England against, and at this point there's no grooming. Yeah, well, there is grooming. Our daughters are being raped in every town and city, but I take the group from Luton and start hitting other cities.
I'm so sorry. Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
What's the grooming part? I get the other
I'll
part, but grooming
do.
Implies you're training somebody for something.
Yeah, what they do. So this is how they operate. Yeah. So to parents, and this should be.
So I didn't mean to sidebar you.
No,
but
it's fine.
I feel
there was a video done in 2007. Coming out of Holland, and they called it Loverboy. It was an educational video to be played to children and parents so they can understand the process. Now in Britain, they wouldn't let the video be played.
Okay.
Because racist. Yeah. Now it's in Holland, Moroccan men were doing this. In the UK, in India, it's called Love Jihad. Yeah. So it's called Loverboy here, Love Jihad here, grooming in the UK. It's exactly the same process. So what will happen? You'll be at school, like we were. A young English girl will become friends with a Pakistani boy or an Afghani boy. They might be 13 or 14. They'll become close friends with them, and then they'll start hanging around with them, and then they'll pass them to their older brother, older cousin or uncle. So then these young girls think they're hanging out with older men who then start buying them new trainers, giving them cigarettes, giving them alcohol. And the grooming is because it's a process. It's exactly the same MO in every town and city. It's coordinated, it's organised, it's like a mafia business to target England's daughters. And what they'll do is they'll get the girl and they'll slowly, and I'll tell you that, so there's a girl I know, a beautiful girl, she was one of the most beautiful girls there was. Yeah? I know her family, I know all of them. She used to go out with one of my friends when we were kids. She's gone. Okay, she's gone. But
what do you mean she's gone?
I mean, she's gone.
So far, you told me they bought sneakers for the girl. No, like, okay.
So they buy sneakers. But this girl, and when I sat down with her friend said, have you heard about...
The hell do you mean she's gone?
I mean that they take them. What they do is they'll get them in the process where the man will make her fall in love. So you'll have a 22, 23-year-old man, drives a nice BMW, and you'll have 12 or 13-year-old girls.
Oh, God.
They pick them up from the school gates.
Oh, my God.
But they were literally allowed to, across our country, come to the school gates. The parents would be making a fuss about it, but the police done nothing. Now, I'll get onto the studies and what's actually happened, yeah? But that's what they do. So they treat them well. They give them money, they give them cigarettes. Now in that process, they then isolate them. So they take them away from their group of friends and they get them hanging around with only girls that are in with the other Pakistani boys who have been groomed as well. So the girls are in the same group then. They're all getting drunk, they're all getting drugs, they're all being fed these things, and they're all hanging around with these groups of men. Yeah, that's the process. The girl thinks she's fell in love. Now sometimes what they do is the man will then say to the girl who thinks she's his girlfriend and thinks she loves him, yeah, and thinks he loves her. But then by that point, the men will be saying, your parents treat you like a child. They treat you like a little girl. You're not a little girl. So they cause a division at home. And then they start, so they want the parents to fall out with the daughter. They want them isolated on their own. Now, this is a process, and this has happened to Sikh girls, Hindu girls, but majority white girls. Yeah, they target all non-Muslim girls. They get them in this process. Then the man, sometimes, which comes out in the court cases, how they first get them, is the man will say, I'm in real trouble. I owe these real bad people money, and I need your help. And the only way I can get out the money is if you have sex with a man. That's how it starts with some of them. Yeah. So and it's the same MO. So the girl thinks she's saving him. Yeah. And she's a child. She's a child of 12, 13, sometimes 11. Or sometimes they get them to a position where they fall in love, and then they take them to a house, and 5 or 6 men will then just gang rape the child. Now, this sounds to an audience.
It sounds insane.
Yeah, but you need to listen.
I know the numbers.
It's here. America, it's here, yeah? So, because there's not one single place this hasn't happened. Not one single city in the UK that has a Muslim community where these gangs have been operating and targeting. Now, I start my activism in 2009. I start an organisation, and we as young men hit the streets. Now, there's a lot of criticism against the organisation I formed. Yeah,
this is the Piers Morgan critique that I want. We'll talk about.
Yeah.
But he's like, and I like Piers a lot. Yeah. So Piers is like, this is the wrong way to handle it. This violence is the wrong way. This is making the situation worse. That's the top criticism
probably
of the British Defence League you're talking about.
Probably correct in some manners.
Okay.
In some manners, I was 25 years old. We attempted in Luton to set up a petition. We attempted to talk to our council. We attempted to speak to the government. No one would speak with us. Yeah. At this point, our daughters are being raped in every town and city.
Matters into your own hands.
At this point, we need men on the street. And and what we did, look, it wasn't going to be female nurses or doctors that stood up to terrorists or gangs of jihadist rape gangs, heroin gangs, armed gangs. It wasn't going to be that. So it was only going to be a certain type of mindset of Englishmen that would stand up to that. So when we went on the streets, now we left Luton as a group. We protested in Luton, our hometown, and we were attacked by the police. We were crushed by the police. They don't crush them. We were crushed by the police. Then we went to a city called Birmingham, and we went to this city, and there's you can get the video of this. There's a young boy called Sean, and he's with his friend. He's 11 years old. He goes shopping in the city centre, and this jihadist group, the same group, Al Mujahideen, who are now. Do you know why they are now a prescribed terrorist organisation? Because we went after them. Other than that, they were allowed for 20, 30 years to do what they've done. Because the English Defence League clashed with this group, and young men formed groups in every town and city. The Proud Boys probably was similar, yeah, in America.
Oh, see, the Proud Boys here have such a bad reputation.
Yeah, I know. But they're a bad reputation, but a lot of it's lies as well, which we face lies. They called us racist. We had a lesbian and gay division. We had a Sikh division, a Hindu division, a Jewish division.
I don't know that the Proud Boys have that. Here, this is all I know of them. And admittedly, I've left it at face value, and I'm like, they're racists. And I've never looked.
Do you know the founder wasn't white of the Proud Boys?
Come on.
Enrique? He's not white?
Enrique? Seriously?
He's not white?
I can't defend these guys because I've always thought of them, obviously, as like horrendous white supremacists. So I don't know. I've not looked into it.
Do you know some of the Proud Boys? So when there was a court case, there was a Proud Boy whose wife was black, and they cut her out of every picture as he was going into court. They just cut her out. So again, with the English Defence League, look, at every demonstration we had a non-white person speak. At every demonstration, because I'm from Luton, so my hometown, white and black's like this. There's no difference. So what made up at the start of the English Defence League, we got a Nazi flag and set fire to it. You won't see any of this from the media. The media will turn up at a demonstration. They'll home in on a few white, skinhead, angry-looking men, and that's what they'd pump to the whole country. Yeah, the reality was very different. Now, the entire time, if you Google English Defence League, the entire time I led it, the Metropolitan Police Force has a counter-extremism unit in Scotland Yard whose job it was to define groups. So you have far right, extreme far right, far left. The entire time I led the English Defence League, it was a centrist organisation. But the media would tell you it's a far right extremist organisation. Now, once that was said 1,000 times, that's then.
I got to be honest. I mean, I've been called a white supremacist like a million times. Famously on Piers.
Who called you
this went viral. A Muslim guy named Wajahat Ali, and I was simply trying to explain. This was after Bondi. I've talked about this before, so I'll make it brief because the audience is like, we got it. But I was trying to explain, like, listen, okay, bigotry is an irrational fear of something. But the problem is when you're hearing about grooming gangs and it's thousands and thousands of girls in a small country, or you're watching...
It's more than that. We'll get on that. I'll give you the figures.
Okay. And I'm watching video of what just happened in Washington, D.C., where they're in the streets, death to America, Allahu Akbar, burning the flag, right? I'm watching it in New York, like I just showed you. And
it's not irrational, is it?
You're thinking, right, okay. So you're thinking like, but here's the concern is this to me is a bad idea. And I don't like this idea. It scares me quite a bit. And I don't think it's irrational. And it's like, oh, you're a white nationalist. And the funny part is I probably could not be farther from a white nationalist. But, you're like, I guess I'm a white nationalist. So I now have just taken a step back from believing anything at face value.
Do you know why that is? Do you know why those words are used? To stop the debate.
I know.
So basically, they had the monopoly on this for 30 years where they had everyone scared. Not anymore. Yeah. So I wore all those labels and I faced, there's 6 Muslims in jail, got 30 years, they were on the way to kill me, they got caught with guns, bombs, IEDs. I had to be killed because of my blasphemy. So they got to the location 2 hours late. I've had threat, violence, but they labelled me as a Nazi. Now the Nazis hate me. I'm a race traitor to them because my organisation has always welcomed everyone and any colour and any race. So I'm a Nazi on one side and then I'm a Zionist traitor on the other. It's like I get hit from every side, and the truth is do you know why? See Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan was in charge of one of the biggest newspapers during the time of the scandal. Yeah, they knew. He knew. They all knew. Every newspaper knew. Now none of them rose up to talk about it. Do you know how I know they knew? So the English Defence League forms in 2009. You can draw a graph here, yeah? Now, I remember at the time, we were a pressure movement. That was my job. I led it. I founded it. I led it. It's a difficult job, but no one's listening to us. They're our kids in every town and city, yeah? So we've got to get on the streets. We need to be heard. So I described the English Defence League as a cry for help. Every demo was a cry for help. And what I found very quickly as I travelled the UK, I sat with families. I gave this example the other day. I sat with a father from Blackpool. Now, there was a girl called Charlene Downs in Blackpool. She went missing, 13. She's never been found. They had recordings from the kebab shop of the Muslims saying they put her in the meat grinder of the kebab shop.
Oh, God, stop.
Do you know when her mum went looking for her?
No, come on.
Do you know when her mum went looking for her? Google it. Get the story up. Do you know when her mum went looking for her? So she went to the kebab shop.
Come on.
The mum went to the kebab shop. They give her mum a kebab.
Yeah. So, come on. I feel like we're joking.
No.
We are fucking joking.
Oh, no, you have...
Yes, we are.
No, you have no idea the scale of this problem. No one does.
A lot of skincare looks good on paper, but it doesn't deliver. And somehow we're told that we need like 10 different products for real results, which is why OneSkin stood out to me. Founded by PhD longevity scientists, the brand focuses on real science, not hype. They asked, if visible aging is driven by damaged senescent cells, why not target them directly? And that research led to OS01, which is their proprietary peptide that's designed to slow skin aging at the source. So I was drawn to the science-first approach and clinical backing, and I started using the OS01 face, and I gotta tell you, I love how lightweight and smooth it feels. So much so, by the way, that I brought the hair formula. And a friend actually referred me to it, and I was like, oh, you know what? I started using the face product, and I got to tell you, my skin looks even more resilient than ever. It's simple, it's effective, it's refreshingly straightforward. It's born from over a decade of longevity research. OneSkin's OS01 peptide is proven to target the visible signs of aging, helping you unlock your healthiest skin now. And as you age, there's nothing more valuable than products that work. So for a limited time, try OneSkin with 15% off using the code KEEPINGITREAL at oneskin.co/keepingitreal. That's 15% off oneskin.co with the code KEEPINGITREAL. And after you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. So please support our show and tell them we sent you.
No one does. So this is the darkest stain in British history ever in our nation. What they've allowed to happen. And the stain, the darkest part of it, is that they all knew. Every one of them knew. So Piers Morgan, you can call us what you want, because Piers Morgan's from a privileged class. In the UK, there's a massive class system where they look down their nose upon us. I didn't go to the right school, so I should sit down and shut up, basically. Yeah?
Here's what Piers said. And I tend to identify with Piers because I find that he's more of a moderate, more reasonable. I'm not saying in comparison to you. I'm saying in the landscape. And I tend to identify as more of a moderate. And I'll get to my concern about demonizing.
And he's not a moderate, he's a coward. We'll get on that.
Well, the literally 1.7 billion Muslims that are tremendous people. So then, which again, I'll table that for a moment. But Piers has said he's absolutely right about the gangs. We screwed up. This is a big disaster. His argument is twofold. One is, they brought gasoline to a bonfire, basically, right? It's already a heated situation. It's inflamed. There's a way to de-escalate. Now, Dave Rubin, in this interview, who I know you know, and have done shows with, is like, well, Piers, what would you do about it? What would you do about it if you were the PM of the UK tomorrow?
We know what you've done about it.
And he's like, well, not that. And then his other argument is, I guess there was a Syrian boy that you'd made a documentary about who I guess was not. I haven't seen it, so I just watched that clip. A Syrian boy who I guess you made a documentary about that had false accusations of this kid. Oh, and this is the one you went to jail over.
I got 18 months for this in prison, and I told it, and everyone knows. Anyone who watched that film knows I told the truth. I was given 18 months, so. That story, I have to be careful what I say here because I go straight back to jail.
I understand. I get it.
But Piers Morgan, let me tell you. So Piers Morgan, a Syrian child gets a bottle of water poured on his head in a school playground. Yeah. Piers Morgan and other journalists and celebrities, all of them, he used his platform on daytime TV to say, who is this vermin, the English kid? Called him vermin, 15 years old. Called him vermin, demanded severe retribution against that child. Now, what I'd done in the
water?
Pouring a bottle of water. Because we were told that the Syrian boy was waterboarded. Yeah, you see the video. He got a bottle of water poured in his head. Yeah, and he was held down. Now I show in the.
You can see the video. It's in the documentary.
Alright, Jamal, here. Come here. What? Go tie from the gun now. Oh no.
Okay.
So he gets a bottle of water poured on him. He has a broken arm at the time. The
Syrian kid.
boy, in a plaster, and we're told that he broke his arm in a racist attack against him. Yeah, that's what we're told. So all this story pumped around, and this was a global news story. And in fact, it wasn't a viral video that just happened to go viral. The incident happened 6 weeks before. They planned it. I prove all this in the documentary. Yeah, they used this story to pump a narrative and an agenda, which is continually done. Now, Piers, he talks about my journalism. I check and verify everything I do. Yeah, I'm good at what I do. Piers used a daytime platform to demand severe retribution against a 15-year-old child. Now that child tried to kill himself. That child lived with me for 4 years. So I went up to cover
the white kid who poured the water bottle.
The white kid who pours a bottle of water. 6 weeks later, after it's dealt with at school, just a school playground incident. Yeah, the story goes out and it goes viral everywhere. Muslim gangs turn up at his house. His mum and that have to flee the home, threats to rape the mum, threats to kill the sisters who are 11 years old. I go up to interview him because I'm contacted by parents at the school and children at the school saying that this is not the true story at all. Yeah.
This part gets a little confusing, so I wanted to pause during the show and explain what Tommy is talking about. So the incident involving the British boy pouring a bottle of water on the Syrian boy is the one Tommy made a film about. Now, Tommy went to jail because they claimed that he had made false claims about the Syrian child. Tommy claimed that this was not racially motivated at all and that the Syrian child had threatened the other kids at the school. Now, they found in court that this wasn't the case. The Syrian child had an exemplary record at the school. So when Tommy talks about showing up with a hidden camera and catching the teachers on film, he's trying to illustrate the fact that they did in fact not tell the truth about what really happened with both of the kids.
So I'm contacted. So I make a video because £180,000 have been donated to this child, the Syrian child. Now, I don't blame the child. He's a Syrian child. He's a child. He's come from a war zone. Probably got lots of problems, as have a lot. But he's been put into an English school, and there was lots of allegations. Yeah. So about the behaviour of this child. So I then go and make a video saying, stop donating your money. You're being lied to. You're not been given the full story here. Yeah. Piers has demanded severe retribution against the child. Yeah. So when I got up to interview the kid and his family, the mum's crying. She spent all her Christmas money. They're poor.
The British family.
The British family. Okay. They're hiding. She spent all her money. They're in a hotel. So I said, what are you going to do? And I mean, everyone piled on this story. This was world news. They spoke about it at the United Nations. This is and what I show in the documentary, and I messaged Piers again the other day, what I show in the documentary is how many young English kids are not just have a bottle of water, but they literally get their head jumped all over by migrant children or by Pakistani children, girls that get violently battered. Piers is silent. Every commentator's silent. Yeah. But because it's fashionable and it was, oh, look how much I convert you, I'm against the racist English white bully. Now, the reality is it had nothing to do with race, proven in the police investigation, so it had nothing to do with the child being Syrian.
Was there a racism problem in the school?
Well, no, I don't think there was.
What about other Syrian refugees? Like, do you think what happened to Jamal in the school was because he was a Syrian refugee?
No, not at all. I told you before, that would have happened if the child was white, big, blue, whatever colour.
They're all scared.
Yeah. A lot of careers, aren't there? I work for probation service now.
You do now?
Yeah. So I don't know where I stand with it. If I go, I could lose my job.
I then make the video. They come for me massively. They come to sue me for this, yeah? But I make a so they come to sue me, so I wear a hidden camera. And I go up, when they sue me, and I go and knock on the teachers' doors. Because I know the truth of what's happened. I know it. I've already investigated it. But I need to prove it to you, the audience, yeah? Sure. So I wear a hidden camera. I walk up to the school. I walk up to a school teacher. Asian teacher comes out. He says, Tommy, I took the money.
So they seem to be pretty keen on these NDAs.
Yeah.
Who is that?
Turkish council. But I can't disclose that with you.
What for?
Loads. I'm saying I can't disclose it because I signed it.
How much money was it?
I can't say the figure because if I say the figure, it goes out.
Because, mate... 18.
I've just found out. Well, the head teacher's told us already that he was blackmailed and threatened. I've just found out of Kumar. He was paid £18,000.
I said, who paid you? And what do you mean?
This is on camera?
I've got it all on camera. All of it. The documentary had 167 million views. Right?
Where the hell
I got put in jail for 18 months.
Oh my God.
For this film.
I'm just waking up to this.
Now, the film totally shows, you see what you think. You know your courts are bent. And the judiciary's corrupt, it's weaponised. They used it against Trump. In fact, I'd say this in every interview. Pick any politician who spoke against mass immigration or the European Union, because the European Union is a dictatorship, yeah? Pick any of them. So Geert Wilders, court case after court case after court case. He's now... He won the elections, yeah? Now, right? Marie Le Pen, she's being banned from standing, court case after court case.
I know.
Salvini, 6-year court cases, all lies. He proved himself innocent, but for 6 years he faced the court cases. Now, the process is the punishment. Morten Messerschmidt, Denmark, faced the same hate crime, all nonsense, yeah? So the courts are used when they can't stop you. So the courts were used against me, and they put me through the courts. So I went and wore a hidden camera, and the Asian teacher says, they paid us. I said, who paid you? And he says, Kirklees Council. So I look at who's in charge of Kirklees Council. Shabir Pandor is the Muslim in charge of this council. Now, I don't know if you remember the Batley school protests. There was a school teacher mentioned Mohammed.
I'm so sorry. I am new to all of this. Well, I know about the grooming gangs a little bit. I'm waking up to Death to America and the burning of my flag and the calling for jihad in Times Square and in my nation's capital. So that's the part that I'm like, that's scary. I don't like that. And then if you heard about Tommy Robinson, I'm like, who's Tommy Robinson? Then I go and I watch a bunch of your interviews and I'm like, oh my God.
So this documentary, obviously I went and then the head teacher, I go to the head teacher's house and he says, you're never going to get the truth out of me on this. And I've got it all on record. I said, why? He said, no one's allowed to talk about this, Tommy.
I've got a problem here. I lost my job over this. And as a result, the council has told me that I cannot speak to anybody ever about it. So I can't discuss it, I can't discuss it with the media. I've always wanted to have my say against it, which I've never had, never been allowed to have.
He goes, we told the media the truth. Yeah, we told them. Now, bearing in mind, when I go and interview this English family, I said, where are you going to go? She said, we've got nowhere to go. Everyone wants to kill us. I mean, everyone wants to kill them. Yeah. I show in the documentary, I take the boy's social media account and I do a piece of paper for every hate incident and hate crime. It's this big. Now, the entire Islamic community had 360 incidents against him that year. He had 100,000, this kid. No one cared. No one spoke up for him. Now, so I go up there and I say, right, where are you going to stay? And they're 4 hours away from where I lived. So I took the family home. The boy lived with me for 3-4 years. And he tries to kill himself on Christmas Eve. He barricades himself in because he's reading these comments that are telling him that he's a child. Now, Piers has never come out and apologised for this. Now, on the film, the reason why Piers doesn't like me is because I exposed his ass to the world.
Would you ever go on a show?
Yeah, I would, yeah. But I wanted him to wait his turn because he's not... I want him to wait his turn because he thinks he's the top of the relevance, but he's been proven. Piers hacked dead kids' phones. Fact.
You guys got to have a talk.
I will have it out. It will be a talk, but it'll be a talk. We had a talk, yeah? It was the most watched version of...
you did? Where the fuck?
So on Good Morning Britain...
Because he goes on Dave's show and he's like, you won't come talk to me.
No, the point is, so what happened is, I went on Good Morning Britain, which was with Piers Morgan, after 3 consecutive terrorist attacks in 3 weeks in our country, yeah? And I went on... And I was discussing it, and in there I pulled out the Quran, yeah, and they all, you should have seen the fear in their eyes, yeah.
You read
verses, he said, "Put the book down, put the book down."
Yeah.
I said, "No, I won't put the book down." No, I said, "No, we have to have the discussion on this. There's 100 verses in this. There's call for our murder." Now Piers shouted me down, called me a bigot and Islamophobe. For trying to have a conversation. So, and then he blocked me after that. Now, this was the most watched show, and it has not aged well for him. Get it up. It's not aged well for him because I'm just sitting there saying, listen, we've got to stop these problems. We've got to stop the terrorism, stop the jihad. It's been proven, everything I've said.
You would ban all Muslims? I would temporarily halt Muslim immigration to this country until we get a grip of the problem. I think what you've done over the last 3 weeks, you've repeated what I've said for 10 years, speaking better English. And in 3 years' time, you'll be repeating what I'm saying now, because you're all playing catch-up.
Okay. You are an influential
And at every opportunity, I point out that you should not attack innocent Muslims. At every opportunity, every single time, I differentiate Muslims from Islam.
Right. Okay? But what you don't do...
differentiate Muslims...
Muslims are people. Islam is an idea.
Yeah.
Islam's an idea, a bad idea.
And yes or no, are you Islamophobic?
There's no such word as Islamophobia. Phobia is an irrational fear. It's not irrational to fear these things.
Now, show some damn respect for people's religious beliefs, right?
I should say Winston Churchill. No, I'm quoting some of the best leaders in this country.
You're sounding like a bigoted lunatic.
No, I'm not. William Gladstone.
You are stirring up hatred. You are abusing people's religion. You're abusing their faith, and you're being a complete disgrace.
So from the start of my activism in 2009, everyone said I was lying about the gangs. I went on big news shows in my country and said they're kidnapping our daughters, and I was condemned time and time. They laughed at me. They didn't just laugh at me, but this smear campaign and this operation to discredit me and label me and smear me of all of these things and attack me, imprison me. I've not, from that point of talking in 2009 till right now, there's not been one period in those 16 years that I haven't faced prison. I faced 10 years now. I faced 10 years now.
For what?
I faced 10 years for questioning Daily Mail journalists, for turning the camera around on the mainstream media. So I've never been tried by a jury. So, and this may sound, it's going to sound insane to an audience, but let's get back onto the scandal so you can understand why I faced all of this. 2009, we start an organisation. There's a graph. The arrests for Muslim rapes are along here. 2010, 2011, it literally goes straight up because they could hide it no longer because 10,000 young men are on the street and those 10,000 men aren't backing down. Yeah. And we're walking through singing Muslim paedophiles off our streets. We had placards, our daughters are not halal meat. I'm giving speeches saying they're kidnapping them, they're torturing them, they're raping them, they're prostituting them. They're literally being allowed to take our kids in every town and city. Now, fast forward, 2014, we've gone through years of this relentlessly. Been demonised, been attacked, been battered, been targeted by terrorist groups. Everything's gone on. 2014, a journalist called Andrew Norfolk, who won all these awards for this, yeah? And I prove this because I give a presentation called The Rape of Britain, which is an hour and 20-minute discussion and looking at the crimes of how they committed them, why they committed them, what the demographics are of the rapes. But Andrew Norfolk says, his words, he knew it was happening for years, but he was too scared to say anything. This is the top journalist in the UK for the Times newspaper. But then he saw the emergence of the far right, the English Defence League, yeah? And then he knew he had to report it to take it back from the far right. So the far right being English men, fathers, brothers, relatives of these children, coming together. And then because he didn't want us talking about it, he knew it was time. Like, he takes some moral high ground. The scumbag journalist allowed, because he was too scared, because all of the victims were white and all the perpetrators were Pakistanis. These are his words.
I mean, this was reported
He
eventually.
knew it's happening.
You've been so vindicated on this. Turns out that following years of horrifying localized scandals in towns like Rotterdam, Rochdale, and Telford, the UK government finally commissioned an independent review referred to as the 2025 Baroness Casey Report. And it conducted a definitive national audit of group-based child sexual exploitation. And the objective was to uncover the true scale of these crimes across the country and to determine exactly why police, social services, and local councils had repeatedly failed to intervene and protect kids. Here's what it found. The report exposed catastrophic, systemic institutional failures, revealing that authorities routinely dismissed, ignored, or even blamed highly vulnerable children rather than investigating their abusers. Crucially, it concluded that a culture of institutional cowardice and fear of being labeled racist prevented police and social workers from acting on intelligence or openly acknowledging the demographic realities of the perpetrators, which allowed these organized networks to operate with near impunity for decades.
So basically, 2014, a report comes out after this journalist and a very brave girl called Sammy Woodhouse. You should speak to Sammy sometime, yeah? She's the survivor who brought this. So we talked about it. We brought it to the country's attention. No one could hide from it. We made sure the world knew, yeah? We went round for 4 or 5 years into cities with the world's media highlighting this crime. They decided then they've got to do something, yeah, because they know it's boiling over here. So they started arresting them. And in 2014, Sammy Woodhouse, who's a survivor of one of the worst gangs in our country's history, she was impregnated as a child. She has a baby, yeah? Nothing. She went to the police. Everyone went to the police. All these girls went to the police.
I do know that.
So 2014, a report comes out. I can remember I was sat in jail at the time. So I'm sat in jail. Boom, this report comes out. Everything we said, everything we'd been saying. So the girl who got chopped up as kebab meat, yeah?
Oh my God, this is insane what you're telling me.
That girl.
This is insane.
No, it's a horror movie. This is a horror movie to a scale that no one can understand. And you have to understand, when we started talking about it in 2009, every council and every police force has allowed it. So the people in top, say for example, the officer, Rotherham is this report that comes out in 2014 from Andrew Norfolk and Sammy Woodhouse, the brave lady who fronted this and brought this to the courts. She brought it to the courts. She didn't back down with the support of the journalist who knew it was happening for years. Yeah, he was forced to do it because of the formation of the English Defence League. Now the English Defence League was for the brave and the stupid. Yeah, because no, it was brave men. But it attracted some arseholes.
I understand.
Yeah. It was a nationalist organisation with the flag of our country that the media kept saying was racist. So we had a battle within the movement ourselves to kick out any racists that were coming. But we had an issue that we needed to highlight on the street. No one was listening. So they start arresting them all. And then in 2014, this report comes out and vindicates everything we said. And it doesn't just vindicate it. What we find out from this report is that the police, and remember the top police officer in charge of Rotherham, the town, they find out that 1,400 children were in this small town of Rotherham. Now, Rotherham has a 3.7% Muslim population. Not many there. My town has 50%. Some of the towns have 35, 40, 50% in other towns across the country. So imagine the figures in these towns. But 1,400 children in this small town. Now, they find out that the police knew it was happening, the council knew it was happening, Labour knew it was happening, politicians knew it was happening, everyone knew it was happening, the social services, the hotel, all of them knew it was happening, but they were all too scared of talking about it. This is where the level of self-censorship, because you're doing it here in America already, yeah? You're self-censoring your views because you're worried about being called an Islamophobe and a bigot.
I'm also worried, in all fairness, and I don't want to take, God, I don't want to take you off this train of thought because we're trying to finish this. It's that for sure. But I'm also concerned that, the stuff in the Quran that you're talking about, the sword verses, the latter version of the Prophet Muhammad is terrifying stuff. The problem is you have billions of Muslims that are tremendous people, like the guy in Bondi Beach who almost died taking down those 2 radical Islamist terrorists. So then I'm like, I don't want to be a source of violence or hatred against really good and innocent people. And I have asked every single person that has talked to me about this. And nobody really knows how to, like, what do you do?
So I have Muslims, as I said, that I love.
But how do you, how do you stop?
Well, they're irrelevant. That's a fact of it. They're irrelevant. They're not going to stop them. They're just not going to stop it. So it's 20%, they say. Security services around the world put the figure at 20%. That's 400 million. Now, in the UK, it's upwards of 40% want Sharia law. That's nearly 2 million, probably. 1.6 million Muslims want Sharia law. 42% of French Muslims believe violence is justified in the name of Islam. 35% of British Muslims believe it. 40,000 British Muslims on a terror watch list. 40,000. We've only got 70,000 armed forces. So 3,000 of those to monitor them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, costs £9 billion a year. So again, when we're looking at statistics, do you know in the whole period, we'll go through the Rotherham, 3.7%, 1,400 children raped. We find out that the police knew. What we find out is that 2 fathers got together while they're 13-year-old girls, and this isn't Tommy Robinson's opinion. You don't have to take my word for it. Read the study. Read the investigation that was done, that was funded to expose this, the Casey report. So when you read it, 2 fathers get together, 6 Muslims are raping their daughters, 2 girls, 13 years old. The dads go to the house to get their girls back. The police turned up and arrested the dads.
What?
Yeah.
On what charge?
On causing a disorder at the house. Left the girls inside the house with the men, left the children. Literally, when I'm telling you, they literally were stood down. Police across the country were stood down. In that same town, now I know some of these girls now. I've got to know the families around the whole UK for these crimes. One of the dads rang 999 100 times. Rang 999 100 times. There was another young girl, she was 12. She's drunk, and she was in a derelict property. 5 men, all raping her. Police turned up, caught them in the process. They arrested the child for being drunk and disorderly.
Stop. Come on, this can't be true.
This
can't be true. This can't be true.
Every word of it.
Can't be true.
Do you know what else? They took an 11-year-old girl and they got a hot iron rod with the letter M. They heated it up and they scolded her bum because she was a property of Muhammad. Another young girl, they nailed her tongue to a table. This isn't even about sexual...
Hold on. I gotta just slow. This is real? This is provable?
This is it. This is
not
all,
hearsay.
This is all documented now. It wasn't. No one knew about it.
How could someone fact check us?
You can fact check it from the court papers, and this is what come out recently. Do you know they were using a pun to make what come out from Elon Musk shared was the court transcripts, and they're hiding all of this. Keir Starmer's just agreed to delete all the court transcripts from the cases, because so basically the cover up, which had been going on for 30 years, we form, so they look at us and think we've all got dirty hands. The police that let it happen, dirty hands. Politicians let it happen, dirty hands. We've literally all allowed this to happen, And because we're scared. Now, and you can look at the fear for that. Look at what Keir Starmer just done when your country, our biggest ally, if we're in trouble, we need you, So you're going to war with the Ayatollah. Keir Starmer won't let you use the military bases. That's not to do with our values or our belief. It's to do with surrender. He surrendered to the mob rule already.
Okay, it's frustrating, right? We go to doctors for answers, but often we're left searching for real insights into our health. Well, this is why I'm excited about Superpower. One simple lab draw, taken either in your home or a nearby lab, tracks over 100 of your biomarkers. It's pretty cool, right? The Superpower app gives you real insight into your heart, liver, thyroid hormones, metabolism, vitamin and mineral levels, even environmental toxins. And you know what? You get actionable plans and suggestions about lifestyle, supplements, prescriptions, which you can purchase directly through Superpower. And Superpower tracks your results over your lifetime and even gives your true biological age. You get access to high-end concierge-level care for only $199, and it's only $179 with our discount. So make this year the one that you stop guessing about your health with Superpower. Not only did Superpower reduce their price to just $199, but for a limited time, our listeners get an additional $20 off when you head to www.superpower.com/Jillian and you use the code Jillian. So head right now to www.superpower.com/Jillian and use the code Jillian at checkout for $20 off your membership. And after you sign up, they're going to ask how you learned about them. So please make sure to mention this podcast to support the show.
They simply pander to them. Now, they pandered to them. How powerful is political correctness? It's that powerful that they allowed an entire generation of Britain's daughters to get raped. You can watch my 5-part series. It's called The Rape of Britain. I go as a journalist. I go to a town called Telford. Telford has a 1.7% Muslim population. Now, I went to this town, and I went there because I knew, with that small population, my town's 50%. When I got there, everyone was warning me, you need to be careful with these gangs, the Pakistani gangs. You're going to get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I said, I'm from Luton. You ought to see, you ought to see what they've been like. We've been doing this for 20 years with them. I know what they're like. I just couldn't believe that they've got the whole town under grip for 1.7%. I thought, where's the men? Where are the English men? How have you not stood up against these lot?
Because they put them in jail.
No, it's not just they put them in jail. It's the level of mafia, the violence, the way, if you fight one Muslim, you've declared war on the whole tribe. Like, when we were growing up, if you go out and there was a fight between the whites and blacks, because there's always whites and blacks together, against Pakistanis, because they all come out in mobs. If you had a fight with them in the street, they get out of every car. They come out of every chicken shop. They don't know each other. They do not know each other. Like this Muslim who just helped throw the bomb. They didn't know each other. They didn't know each other. Yeah? They just all join in. They all are. It's a brotherhood and a mafia.
I do know that.
And that's what they do. But so I go to Telford. I spend 12 to 18 months in this town, and I make a 5-part series. It's going to be a 6-part. I still need to finish it, but they keep putting me in jail. But it's a 5-part series. Yeah.
This is the craziest interview I've ever done. This is the craziest story I have ever.
I shouldn't be laughing, but
no, I shouldn't either. But it's like sometimes
insane.
it's so crazy that you just uncomfortably. I feel like I hate when Tucker Carlson does like, hey, I hate that, and I'm doing it right now. I'm like, all right, let me stop.
No, he come to my country and lied. No, but
I know and pretended he didn't know you, and then there's like a series of interviews that he'd done with you previously. I'm like, well, that's weird.
That's before his Doha check. But I think that, with these gangs, I go to this town and I spend 12 to 18 months. And I sit down with probably 12 to 18 women. They're the survivors of these gangs. And I sit with them and I interview them for 3 hours, 4 hours, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Yeah? And I build a database. And I do a police-style investigation. We put trackers on their cars. We go to their businesses. We go in their shops. We use their taxis. And we build. So the police investigation in this town. So there's a police investigation. We went to this town in 2010 with the English Defence League. 2014, they start arresting them, yeah? 2014, 15. So, and I done a graph to show we went to this town in this year. They started arresting them 2 years later. We went to this town. Literally every town we went to was about these issues, yeah? So we went with 4,000 men, caused a big storm in the town. They board everywhere up. All the media come and we give speeches about them raping our kids, yeah, and why they're raping them. But I go to this town, I do a police-style investigation. The police investigation identified 200 men raping children in this town. They identified 1,000 victims. 5 of the victims in this small town are dead. Some of the young girls burned alive, yeah? Some of them burned alive. I met the families of these children, yeah, in my series. So they've killed them, right? They've killed 5, and then they terrify the rest of the girls because they've burned some of them alive. So any other girl, they're like, we'll do to you what we've done to them. Yeah. So then every girl is just scared. Every family's scared. These men have got guns. They're armed, which most people aren't in the UK. Only the gangs.
That's right.
We don't have guns. We can't defend ourselves. And we can't defend ourselves. We're told we're not allowed to. Do you know, 2 weeks, I'll keep going off on tangents. 2 weeks before I come out here, 2 weeks, the police contacted me. I'm named in this month's ISIS magazine. They put a picture of me in the ISIS publication this month, to be killed at all costs. Do you know what the police said to me? Which you can listen to the recording, yeah? They say, right, we can't protect you. We can't look after you 24 hours a day. And you're not allowed to get a weapon to defend yourself, because if you get a weapon to defend yourself, you will be prosecuted. So, bearing in mind, in my hometown, which is an ISIS stronghold, terrorist capital is where I'm from, yeah? They've let all the ISIS fighters back. 4 times as many British Muslims went to fight for ISIS in a 3-year period than ever joined our British military in a 50-year period. Yeah? So ISIS is big. Our prisons are training camps for ISIS, but you can't defend yourself or you'll be prosecuted. So literally, see you later, you're in danger, and we're not going to defend you. We can't protect you. They've all got weapons. So this is, never let go of your guns, America. Never lose your free speech, because then you end up muzzled like us whilst your hands are tied behind your back while all the enemy have guns and weapons and you have to leave your country like so many of our citizens are having to do. But back onto, I went off on a tangent, but back onto the gangs in Telford. Police identify 1,000. 200 men, 1,000 victims. We identified 260 men. Do you know how many Muslim men there are in that town? 1,000. So the police identified 20%. And an inquiry identified over 300. So minimum 20, upwards of 30% of the men in that town were raping kids. Yeah, Muslim men were raping kids. This isn't my opinion. Check it on Grok, because someone tried to fact check me the other day. Use Grok. Ask them. Yeah, they'll tell you. The figures show this. Yeah, so this is how big the problem is. The only towns we have figures for is Rotherham, 3.7%, and Telford, 1.7%. There's no Muslims there. Now, out of the 200 men that the police identified in their investigation, they prosecuted 11. The other 189. Now, in our investigation, our documentary, we get the paper evidence that a 13-year-old child was impregnated. They get 100% DNA match for the rapist, who's 22. She wasn't sure who it could be. It could be multiple men. But they get 100% DNA match for the rapist, who was 22 at the time. And he's not prosecuted. They just don't get prosecuted. So this scale of problem, what do you think the numbers are actually like? So to those who call us bigots or far right or racist, we don't care. Yeah, I said in the early days, tattoo it on my head if you want. Yeah, we care about our daughters. We care about the families. Now, people say, like, I've carried on through this, through prison sentences, through attacks, but I meet these families. I see the pain. And the reason my documentary was so that the British public and the audience watch these documentaries. They're at trfilms.co.uk. They are going to break your heart, because we tell the story of a survivor and they sit there and tell their own story. And you hear, it's not my opinion. Listen to them, what they done to them. They took them up to the woods in the middle of the night at 12 years old. They took them out. They sexually abused them. They raped them. And then they urinated in their faces as kids. And then they left them in the woods. Imagine how scared you are as a 12-year-old child. And these children had no one to turn to. Because lo and behold, the journalist don't want to be called racist. Piers Morgan at the time, well, he doesn't want to have a label, does he? So I don't really care what Piers and that say about us, if I'm honest, because everything we said has been proven right. We're not, and his criticism against me, I get called violent. Yeah, there's not one single instant of me being violent without defending myself. So if you punch me in the face, I'll punch you back. Yeah, unfortunately for you. Okay, so I'm not going to apologise for being a man amongst non-men nowadays, because that's what we've created. We've created in the UK, and you're in the process of doing it as well, a generation of cowards who care about themselves, who don't care about their country and community. Do you know, when I get a lot of criticism for my support of Israel as well. But
God forbid you don't think everything is the fault of the Jews. You're a genocidal Zionist.
No, that's the easy way out. That's the easy way out.
You're like, well, I don't know that. I don't think they killed Charlie Kirk. I don't think there's evidence for that. Oh, genocidal Zionist.
But they want to attack. But the thing is, it's easy to attack the Jews. And it's easy to.
And there's only 14 million of them.
It's easy, and it gets lots of likes from the new community coming out of universities. Yeah?
It is so popular.
It's a popular winner.
It is popular. It is so popular. Sidebar. Here's my little sidebar. That the governor of California has just taken a position against Israel, basically suggesting that because it's an apartheid state, Trump has essentially gone to war with Iran because of Israel. That's the only reason.
It's because of Israel. Iran funded 12 terror plots in our country. Do you know Iran wanted to assassinate your president? Do you know Iran have killed how many American troops? Do you know Iran are the funders of Hezbollah, Houthis? They're the funders of Hamas. Do you know every sponsor of terrorism is the Ayatollah of Iran? And do you know, for any Americans that don't actually get it, this isn't Saddam Hussein. And this isn't Gaddafi, their view was about their nation and their land. Yeah? The Ayatollah's view is about your nation and your land. They want world domination. That's his mindset. They're a caliphate mindset, and they want death to the West and death to the United States and death to America and death to all of us. And that's what they want. And they've enslaved 90 million people. For 45 years, however many years it is, they've enslaved people that aren't Muslim, and they've made them become Muslim, and they've had them subjugated, dominated. So when you see these people crying up, because I hear these commentators talking about a Muslim-Christian alliance. Yeah, I think, yeah, you come to Europe and tell us that. Like, you haven't lived this, and you're going to live it. So unfortunately, none of your videos are going to age well. To these commentators who have sold their soul on this issue, you're going to face jihad. You've already faced it last week in Texas. There's another terror plot this week. There's going to be more. It's going to continue. It's going to go through the roof. It's here now in America. It's here. Yeah, we have been paralysed as a nation. The strongest nation It doesn't look like Britain anymore. You need to understand what's happened. And you can stop it, America. And you don't have to stop it by discriminating against every single person or being horrible. You just need to stop the influence of Islam. Immigration into the United States has to benefit the United States. If I put a pot there, this is what I keep saying with our border. It doesn't make sense. If I put a pot there of 100 skills, and I say 3 or 4 of them when you eat them are going to kill you, are you going to start picking out of those skills and eating them? You're not, are you? That's the danger. That's the border. That's the border. Because some of them are going to kill us. Some of them can commit terrorism. Look how many ICE are finding that are kids, that are terrorists, that are jihadists. And not just that, you'll never win an election again. Because democracy is used to end democracy, as we're seeing in the UK.
Yeah.
So the Muslim community flood it, 700% increase in illegal immigration into your swing states. There never would have been a swing state again. That's the goal. That was the goal.
Yeah, that is the goal.
That's the goal. And it's not hateful to say this. It's not. And again, I just come from the UK under a lot of criticism, of course, because I've exposed my government time and time again. I've exposed the media time and time again. I'm the enemy of the media. Discussions like this are the future, and it's not just important. I always say the mainstream media, just the reporting of this attack in New York just shows it, yeah? The mainstream media are the cancer and citizen journalism is the cure. Elon Musk has given us now hope in the UK. He's given us a platform to discuss these topics that you weren't allowed to discuss and to warn the public. Because that's our leaders' duty, is to warn the public, but rather than warn them, they're lying to us.
Can I show you this video of call to prayer in Times Square, which now you're seeing all across the world, and the guy's like, they're worried about us taking over New York. We are taking over New York. And I was like, why are you saying that though? Like, here, take a look at this.
They could do it silently.
Yeah, hang on. It is right, exactly. It's shot number 1, guys. Right, like, it just is so bold. Take a look at this.
They can be bold.
Giving that, yo, make some noise from the Brother Mortar right now, baby. MashaAllah, yeah. Takbir! Oh, don't scare them, brothers. Relax. They're over here on purpose to be like, oh my God. Who's seen those videos where they're like, oh my God, the Muslims are taking over New York? So you seen those? You seen those? Let them know that we are taking over New York City. Takbir! Oh my God.
Yeah, you need to deal with it now. That's the point. You need to deal with it now because you won't be able to. You just won't be able to. You'll be in the situation we're in, yeah? And that's why the warning, look, in the UK, again, female genital mutilation, yeah? That is the cutting off of a child, a young girl's clitoris, yeah? Because she's not meant to enjoy sex, she's just meant to have babies, okay? So what they do, 55,000 British children this has happened to. Now...
Are you...
No.
Where are these insane numbers? How your country's? How many people are in your country?
Yeah, but this is your country. This is America. Where that Somali community is, have a look at the rate. Do it now. Get someone to do it now. The rate of Somalian women who have faced FGM. It's like the majority. Yeah.
What FGM?
It's called
female genital mutilation.
Now in the UK, that carries a prison sentence.
In Minneapolis and Somalia.
No, it'll be in America, 100%. Now, what they've tried to do in
all right, team, can you, if you guys can reach Porter or Fletcher, can you ask them to check that?
Have a look how many it is in Somalia. I'm pretty sure it's upwards of 90%, I'm guessing. Let me have a look. So,
okay.
FGM in Somalia. What percentage? Now, their values... 98% of women aged 15 to 49 have undergone the procedure. So 98% of Somalian women have had their clitorises cut off. Okay? So that is so that they don't want sex, have a drive for sex, enjoy sex.
Okay, great. Guys, what do you have for me? You're 100.
Now listen, because that's...
if you fact check from Fletch.
But if you think that that's left at your border when they come in, it's not. It's like the 99% of Afghans want Sharia law. They don't get to your border and go, we'll see you later, Sharia law. We now will love democracy and freedom. No, they want Sharia law. They bring that value system into your country and then they push it. Now, FGM, this is where you understand how the problems can't be dealt with. Yeah? Because in the UK, it's a prison sentence. Fact check this again. It's a prison sentence, I think, of 15 or 20 years. Yeah, I think that the parents who allow their child to have their genitals mutilated can receive a prison sentence of like 15 years. Do you know, out of those 55,000 British children, do you know how many people have been prosecuted?
You're gonna tell me none.
One last year. One. Do you know why? because if they prosecuted the parents, there's not a single prison place left. We simply can't deal with it. So then we turn a blind eye. So then we call it cultural sensitivity. So we allow little British children, because they're born in Britain, like you're allowing American children right now, to have their genitals mutilated because we don't know how to deal with the scale of this problem that we've imported in. Like, there's so many problems that are coming. Say, for example, Pakistani men make up 3% of the British population. They're responsible for 33% of child defects, because in some cities, 76% of them marry their cousins. You will allow, like we have, the problem's so big we can't deal with it. So then the terrorism front and the threat of violence from a hostile, aggressive community, because they will riot. You see those New York? You go and try and move them. So you see where they're praying in your capital? Try and move them. Watch what happens.
It's a full-blown street fight. And then the Americans are called white supremacists.
But then, and not just that, they won't just riot there. Now, this is what Europe knows. So ICE, okay, you're lucky, yeah? You've got them, right? We need an ICE. But you see, if we had an ICE in Europe, they will burn the whole of Europe. You won't be able to go get the illegal.
Americans are...
No, but only...
That situation has climbed so out of control.
Yeah, but
fast.
That's at 1%. You've only got 1%, man. Once you get these strongholds, and I went to Texas, yeah, since I've been here. You've got 330 mosques in Texas. 5 years ago, you had 200. Okay.
Texas is a big problem,
but
which is so weird.
No, it's not. It's not weird.
Be more red.
No, it's not weird.
Why Texas?
It's intentionally targeting Texas to take the soul of America. If they take Texas, they've got America. Oh. If they take Texas, yeah, which they're gonna, because not just that, the centres, and I don't mean this isn't scaremongering because I've watched it. Okay, they come in. You've seen Epic City, yeah? Have you seen? No, that's okay. So Epic City. I went to a mosque. They put a plan in for this massive city, yeah, and it's got a huge mosque, and then all houses that are there are for Muslims, and a percentage of the fees go back to the mosque.
This is all in Texas.
This is in Texas.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this is in Plano.
Okay.
Yeah, Plano. The names of the roads that they're naming in this Islamic city are all named after Islamic conquerors. Yeah? They're conquering your country. It's funded. Now, I understand we need economic relations with Saudi Arabia and Qatar, but why are we allowed in Saudi Arabia or Qatar to fund any schools, madrasas, mosques? You can't build a church in Saudi Arabia. What are the value system in Qatar and Saudi Arabia? You can't leave Islam in those countries. You get killed, punishable by death. To leave Islam is punishable by death in these Islamic nations. That means freedom of religion, like they keep crying about and talking about. They don't believe in it. Free speech, don't believe in it. Criticise Muhammad, you're dead. So the values are totally opposite, and you're building entire cities now that are funded, and they're going to use your constitution, use your freedoms against you in order to build entire enclaves. Now, these enclaves, now I went, look at my video, it's doing quite well. I went and interviewed a lady, and I've seen this myself, yeah. I interviewed a lady and her husband whose grandmother lived in Plano, mother lived in Plano, she's now fled Plano. She's fled because she's being harassed and persecuted by Muslim men in the area. So she's had to leave. She's crying, talking about how she's left her home place and the changing face of Texas. But Germany Americans are contacting me with the changing face of their towns. This is not a mistake. And this is the seed that's been planted. And as those communities grow, my local council and mosques, which is now 45, they do a deal with the local council. If they can swing seats, everyone will bend to them. And you see 50, I think you had a 50% vote rate, I think. 20, like Keir Starmer, the coward in charge of our country, the tyrant, he was elected off 9 million votes. 20 million people didn't vote. I think 86 million Americans didn't vote, I think, yeah? Now...
I'm not totally sure.
I think, but the percentage of votes...
That's funny, I didn't think about that. I do know, like, Trump won by 5 million votes, Trump won by...
Well, they all vote. Yeah. They vote in a military fashion. And they vote for who their imam tells them to vote for. So the imam does deals with the Democrat. So you know the fraud in Minnesota? Everyone knew it's happening, but they let it happen because they've got their 100,000 votes.
Yeah, Jacob Frey.
Yeah,
he's like trying to speak.
You keep doing this because the money comes free circle. Probably half of it goes to Al-Shabaab, funding terrorist organisations. The other half comes back to the Democrats, funds their campaigns. And then they know we've got this vote bank, they're never going to vote Republicans. And then you just have to look at the figures of how many can speak English and how many are on welfare 10 years after being in the country as Somalians. Now, what's the benefit? There is no benefit to America, to you taxpayers who are working hard, but there is a benefit to the Democrats, because the Democrats have worked very hard. Even the black families, what you had, 80% had a father in the 60s, now it's 20%. That's the real racism, America. Stop talking shit, yeah? That's the real racism. That's organised, yeah? The black community, they wanted you. We're talking about plantations. You're still on plantations. It's the Democrat plantations because they want you there. They want you reliant on the state. They want you broke. They want you down there. They want people reliant on the state so they can grow their government, yeah, and control. That's what they want. Now, when you aspire, like many blacks did, to start voting Donald Trump and Republicans, this is what happened in the UK. We, working class, when we become successful, we then look at the Conservatives because we realise that this is all nonsense. Yeah? So we end up becoming Tories or Conservatives.
Right.
They've just replaced us. They've just replaced us. They feel betrayed. They've replaced us. Literally in the UK, they've replaced us. The working man has been replaced by a reliant population who are quite happy. My local imam has 14 children with 3 wives, and he's living a very halal life to pray 5 times a day. We're paying for it. In fact, they tell you this. They're happy to come in and take the benefit system, take. They put nothing in and take everything out because we're putting everything in. We're working 40 hours, 50 hours, and we're paying for them. And the figures to America, there's been study after study in Denmark, in Holland, that show not just the first generation, but the second and the third. They're all reliant on the state. It's literally importing a new vote bank that are replacing the native population of Europe. Now, whilst they do this, it gives them easy governorship. They've imported hostile, violent communities. Crime is going through the roof. We'll end up crying out for them, please, more law, more order, more cameras, more surveillance, more, because we'll need it. And then they take power and less freedom. Our freedoms are being obliterated. Free speech is gone. There's no free speech in Britain. And then they use continually hate speech. We need to because Islamophobia is on the rise. What are you talking about? 9,000 churches in the last 3 years have been smashed to pieces. There's been criminal activity against 9,000 churches in Britain. 9,000. But yet headline news if someone puts a bit of bacon near a mosque. You don't hear about anything that's happened to us. Look, go down the rabbit hole on how many churches have been burned. 2 last week. How many churches have been burned across Europe? They're setting fire and our main hundreds of years old churches are being burned to the ground. It doesn't even make the news. The news is someone looked at a Muslim dirty. Headline world news. Doesn't matter if synagogues are getting shot up, I think 3 times now. None of this matters if churches or synagogues or any of these things are getting blown up because they are importing a loyal vote bank. They are bringing in a hostile community. It's alien. It's oil and water. The value systems are totally different. Totally different.
You know what's crazy is that you see a war on particularly white Christian men here. And it's called out. You know, Hillary Clinton was like, well, these white Christian men just want to drag us back to the dark ages. And, you know, you've got...
We're like 7% population of the world now. But what are they talking about? You know what I mean?
And the Jews are a few million, a handful, 14 million people.
It's like 55 Islamic nations and the Jews have got 1 and you all can't just handle it. It's like, come on, man.
It's crazy. And, you know, I was watching, I don't wonder if you saw this. It was an episode of Joe Rogan, and he had Matt McConaughey on. And I'm not religious. I have no dog in the religion fight. I believe people should pray to their own God, and that's wonderful. But McConaughey's like, well, how do you feel about putting the 10 Commandments in a schoolroom? And Rogan's like, no, I don't think we should do that.
We need to do that.
Well, what's interesting about that is I was like, that's interesting. Let me explore what I think about this. And I'm like, I get what Rogan's, I guess, trying to say is like, your religion is your religion, but don't try to put it on other people. So McConaughey's like, let's go through each one of these 10 Commandments. Well, sure. And they go through the 10 Commandments. And Joe's like, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, I think we should all follow that one. But, you know, we're so quick to be like, oh, no, I don't want don't put your Christianity over here. No. And if you had a bunch of Christians in Times Square holding church or like, oh my God, people would go crazy. They would go crazy about Christian nationalism. And, you know, I don't want to get your Bible out of my uterus, all of this stuff. And yet, if it's Islam, yeah, there's zero concern.
Well, they're alongside them. not just concerned, they support them. They support what they're doing. Look, many of these far left groups and organisations want to bring down the system. They want destruction of the system, to replace it with Marxism. Now, this is what they've done in Lebanon, it's what they've done in Iran. They work together. And then as soon as the Muslims took over, they killed them. So there's only one benefit, where if they do win, they're all left to get executed straight away. But it's like, when you look at the Ten Commandments, America can't do this. You need to understand what built Britain. What built Britain?
I don't know.
Christianity.
Oh, of course.
It was built on the values.
Judeo-Christian values.
It was built on the values. I saw an interview with the Queen, and they say, what built Britain? She says the Bible. Now, we have 1,000 years of Christian culture, English identity in our country. They have gave it away in 60 years. Now, where we messed up was the church, because the church have been captured in the UK. There's no church. It's just a Marxist rainbow flag flying. And I'm pro-gay rights. Pro-gay rights.
I know what you're saying.
I
know what you're saying.
But this is...
I know what you're saying.
And do you know what is left? When we lost our faith and our identity as a nation, we lost our value system. Now, when you break down the family as well, you use mass immigration, the community will start fleeing and running away, because that's what everyone does. Like this couple I spoke to in Plano, they leave, and they used to know all their neighbours, now they don't know any. Yeah. So you break down the strong community, you break down the Christian values, you break down the man, you weaken him, you feminise him, you tell him he's bad at everything. You go through this process, which has to now be viewed as they've had a revolution. The left have had a successful revolution across the West. They broke down borders, broke down identity, broke down family, broke down the church. All of these things have been attacked from all angles. And what that leaves them is men who don't know who they are. That's why so many and lost their identity. That's why so many are converting. That's why so many are searching for other identities. Now, it's left a void in the UK. It's not happening in Poland because they know who they are. It's not happening in Hungary because they know who they are. Right. But in the UK, a void has been left. Now, into that void fills Islam, LGBTQ+, Marxism, communism, all these other value systems which have nothing on our value system. Our value system, so if you don't believe in Jesus, if you don't believe in Christian, just look at the Ten Commandments. What is wrong with building a society based on this value system, which is where we get our compass from?
That's actually one of the things that I've leaned into about Christianity is I'm like, you know what, listen,
it's good.
There's elements of this that, being gay, of course, there's always going to be that friction point.
But which Christian country, where are Christians executing homosexuals based on what the Bible says?
I know they're not. I know.
Well, they are in Islamic nations. In Gaza, gays for Gaza. Yeah, they're thrown off the rooftop, lads.
I know.
Well, I call them lads.
I know. I know. And, I've also kind of, with regard to the divinity piece, I'm like, listen, obviously this is going to go against what I have perceived with regard to science. Was it there an immaculate conception? I'm here to say, I don't know, right? I have no idea. But the principles unequivocally make incredible sense to me. And that's the part that I'm like, I can try to be more Christ-like. I can lean into this concept. And that's the stuff that I feel myself gravitate towards, are these values that you speak of. And that's unquestionable to me. But then when I go to look at Islam, you've got early Muhammad, who's a lovely person. And then you have stage phase 2 Muhammad, who is friggin' terrifying.
Do you know what abrogation is in Islam?
Yes, when you leave, they kill you, right?
No, that's apostasy.
Oh, excuse me. I should know this.
Abrogation is if there's two contradictory verses.
Oh, yes, the oldest one matters.
Which is why the Quran, it's not in chronological order now. It used to be. So when Gladstone and Churchill, my leaders, best leaders the planet's ever had, when they were leading Britain, the Quran that they picked up was in chronological order. That means what Muhammad says is in date order. Now, it's literally an encrypted book. So when you pick up the Quran, so I wrote a book, it was #1 bestseller, it's called Muhammad's Quran, Why Muslims Kill for Islam. Yeah. And what we done is we took the Quran and we put it back in the order it's historically always been in. And that's not my order. We took Islamic scholars, the most renowned in the world, and we took the order that they say it goes in for when it says. Now, what the purpose of that in the book, what we done, is we take a line. So every peaceful verse in, when you open it up,
it's early.
It just has a little line for it. And after it has Surah 5:9. It has whichever verse abrogates it. Because that's why it's important. And we put all the verses of violence and hate and rape and war in bold letters. So the idea is you can pick up this book and then when you open it, you'll very quickly understand this is a war manual. Yeah. And do you know the term, this is the most amazing thing. Do you know the term Islam is a religion of peace?
Yeah, of course I do, because I believed it.
Do you know why you believed it?
Because they told me.
Do you know that was never ever said in history till George W. Bush? I tried to find it. Try and find it, guys. Try and fact check me, yeah? Look for Islam's Religion of Peace, right? Because when we wrote this book, it's with a gentleman called Peter McLaughlin. He's a genius, yeah? But we worked on this book to try and, we call it The Great Lie. So when George W. Bush, after September 11th, said Islam's Religion of Peace, no one's ever said that. Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, said the dome is their helmet, the minaret is their bayonet, that they are that the mosques are their weapons for war. So all previous leaders, and not just their leaders. So Sir William Gladstone held the Quran above his head and he said, there'll never be peace on this earth so long as we have this book. It's a violent and cursed book. He didn't talk about an interpretation of this book, he talked about the book. Winston Churchill said, Islam in a man is like rabies in a dog. That's the equivalent of what he said. Yeah. He also said, individuals show amazing traits, but Islam has the power to bring Europe back to the Dark Ages. Your previous military leaders in the United States, we put it all in the reception because a military leader and a political leader's job is to educate the public of any danger. Well, they always did. They never talked about Islam as a religion of peace. It's never been said. Islamic scholars never said it. World leaders never said it. Military leaders never said it. George Bush said it. And once they said it 1,000 times, 100,000 times, it then becomes a matter of fact, just like Tommy Robinson's a racist and far right. Because they just keep saying it. And then even Muslims then take it. Do you know, I went and they've never been challenged on it. Like, there was a chat show I went on when I first started this, and the Muslim said, the Imam said, yeah, well, Islam translates as peace.
Yes.
It doesn't. It translates as submit. It translates literally as submit. Now that submit means surrender. So you're sitting here telling everyone it means peace when what it means is surrender. Well, we're not going to surrender. So our motto from that early years is we will not submit. We're not going to submit, okay? We're not willing to submit. I'm not going to sacrifice my children's future or England's future because of a few words that you're going to call us. Because that's where we're at right now, America. We're at a position where you either man up, but you man up and you think of the American future of your nation. You're at a crossroads. You either want to become Britain, where we've lost our culture, lost our identity, surrendered to mob rule, rapes through the roof, terrorism, jihad, war. It's all coming. Germany, Germany let in 1 million. Angela Merkel let in 1 million.
It's a disaster.
But you let in 10 million.
I've seen the streets.
Yeah, you've seen the streets. They let in 1 million. You've let in 10 million. More. So she let in 1 million. Now, when she let in 1 million, between 2017 and 2022, rates went up 45%. So from when she let them in, the rates went up 45%. Just last year, 11% of the rates were by Syrian nationals. These rates don't have to happen. They didn't need to happen. You didn't need to let them in, unless you're intent on destroying the West, which every Western nation this is happening to, Canada, Australia, America, all the borders are opened at the same time with the same caravans. Literally, Libya, they get 20 metres off the coast, and then an NGO funded by the European Union, mainly Germany, go and pick them up, bring them to the next stage, house them, feed them, clothe them, bring them to the next stage, put them in a hotel. 25 kids and sexually assaulted just by the migrants in the hotels.
Like, I would do anything to help people who are refugees, but
Well,
now
these
I'm
aren't
like, we got it.
refugees.
But there's a vetting system.
How many kids are there coming on the boats? There's none. It's all fighting age men. The figures show it. It's so provable. This isn't my opinion again. It's all fact. It's all men. It's all fighting age men. Now, if it was kids and women, there wouldn't be the hoo-ha there is. Yeah? If it was women and kids that were escaping war zones. But let's face it, they go through 16 safe countries to get to ours. So they're not refugees. A refugee is someone who's seeking sanctuary and safety. Well, they were safe in Turkey. They were safe in the next country. And they've gone through another 16 to get to our country for a free house, free benefits. And if you understand Islamic migration, it's part of their jihad. So part of their jihad, what Muhammad is in the Quran, his verse is in the Quran, is to take Islam around the world. And they clear all their sins if they do that. So our countries are being invaded. That's what's happening. Now, immigration, Alex Stein, I like you for this. Immigration without integration or assimilation is invasion. Do you know Qatar spent £1 billion, which frustrates me so much seeing that Tucker Carlson, because £1 billion they've spent Islamising and causing radicalisation in our countries. And now they're doing it in America. The whole time they're doing it, you got voice pieces for them now saying, oh, Qatar's lovely, yeah, loads of Christian rights. It's like, well, are you for real? It's punishable by death to leave Islam in Qatar. Okay, there's no free speech or freedom in Qatar. So I just find it, but you have American commentators now who, quite frankly, I'm not didn't mean to be insulting, have no idea what they're talking about. Because they've not been surrounded by a hostile Islamic community. Tucker Carlson said when he came to UK, his taxi driver, who was Pakistani, he was really nice. I don't see any problems here. Really? You diminished the the generation of our kids because you had a nice Pakistani taxi driver. Most Muslims that you find that are good, they're not great people because of what they're following in the Quran. They're just good people. Most Muslims we're lucky. Most Muslims take their religion like a buffet. They'll take the bits they like and ignore the bits they don't like. But the literal interpretation of the book, which is where ISIS come in, Al Qaeda come in, Boko Haram come in. It's like you've got the Houthis, you've got Hamas, you've got all these terrorist organisations who are misrepresenting Islam in exactly the same way.
You know what's crazy about Tucker though is I could show you a video right now
when he used to tell the truth.
I've actually got it.
Come on, let's see.
This is
Tucker,
what
aren't we the only country allowed to make preemptive strikes? Who the hell does Iran think it is?
That's it. Actually, I know you're sort of kidding, but I agree with that. I think we are the only country.
No, I'm not kidding at all.
Rather, we are. That's absolutely right. The only country with the moral authority sufficient to do that. The only country that doesn't seek hegemony in the world. I do think, I'm sure I'm the lone voice in saying this, I think Iran deserves to be annihilated. I think they're lunatics. I think they're evil.
He's just called American troops. Didn't he say they're going to all the women? He's just made a comment. Have you heard it?
I have not.
He's just made a comment saying that total surrender, which is what Donald Trump's called for. Yes, you need to surrender. America is back. Okay, that's what's good to see because America looked like. Can I talk? America looked like bitches for the last 10 years.
I know.
Okay, you look weak. You look pathetic. If I'm honest, on the world stage, now you don't. Okay. Mess around and find out, quite frankly, which is how it should be, because you can't allow these ayatollahs and these regimes of communism to dictate what's going on in the world, because they're fascist, they're extremists. But him saying that, he's now on the side of the ayatollah. This is the problem. Same with Piers Morgan. They don't actually have values. He doesn't have values. So what did he get? £15 million off some Pakistani funder, and his values disappeared overnight. That's Tucker Carlson.
I know what you're talking about.
His values disappeared overnight for 15 mil. Like, he doesn't even need 15 mil. How can you sell your values?
1789 fund, I think. Well, I know of. And that guy is American, but his money is from the Middle East. But there's now starting to be leaks that there were direct payments from Qatar. But none of, I don't know. None of this is rumor.
Well, something's got to explain the change of heart.
I know.
Now, again, to Americans, because I hear so many. I understand Donald Trump was voted against the war, and voted against regime change. This is not like, if you're not dealing with people who think logically here, the Ayatollah of Iran, if they could and they managed to build a nuclear weapon, they'd press it straight away. They'd get rid of you tomorrow. Yeah, they'd obliterate America, they'd obliterate Britain, they'd obliterate Israel, they'd obliterate everywhere that's not Muslim, because they want to dominate the world. And they wouldn't care that you're going to fire one back because they think they're going up there. They'd be quite happy. They'd be, oh, Sam, ooh, going up to all our virgins. So it's like, now, when you see that from Tucker, it's the same way I have a problem with Piers Morgan. Piers was against Black Lives Matter, for Black Lives Matter. Against the vaccine, for the vaccine, forced lockdowns, then starts talking out against it. He was for Israel, then as it become fashionable and get more likes to be against Israel, he jumps on that side. So, or any of these people, I actually look and think, I don't know what your values are. I don't know what Tucker Carlson, away from the influence, actually believes.
Tucker has been a complete 180. Piers I identify with more because I've changed so dramatically. Okay. So like what I was telling you with Syria. You know, I literally joined the United Nations refugee and stayed in refugee camps in the Congo. Mind you, I wanted to go to Syria.
But this is why I
wasn't famous enough. How ridiculous is that? They're like, well, Angelina Jolie's in Syria. Maybe you could go to the Congo. Okay. I'm like, okay, I'll go to the Congo.
I understand that most liberals and most people like this are doing this because they're good people.
That's the thing.
There's
a lack of understanding. So then the concern is you're demonizing all these Muslims. You're creating racism. They're going to be harmed or hurt. And I do have a genuine concern that there's got to be a way to make a distinction of, okay, who's insane, literally, and doing these things to kids, and who is a wonderful human being that then risks his life in Bondi Beach to take down two terrorists. Like, how do you help people separate so you don't develop this horrendous bias against Muslims?
Most Germans were nice people.
I know.
During the conflict. Right. And he took a minority. The majority, the peaceful ones, irrelevant. They're not going to stop it. So we can't play lottery with the future of the United States of America. You know, if you lose free speech, if you lose it, the world's lost it. That's how important American... When you voted for Donald Trump, I keep saying this, that wasn't a vote to save America. It's a vote to save Western civilization. The ripple that's coming from your nation to ours, to all of us, you've given us hope. You've given us hope because we live under tyranny. We have no free speech. Lucy Connolly was a mother who received 31 months in prison for a tweet that she deleted after an hour. We talk about Russia. Russia's had 800 arrests last year for social media posts. We had 12,000. We had 12,000. And yet we're meant to be I've got the Magna Carta tattooed up here. We're meant to be land of Magna Carta, land of freedom. Your values here, every bit of your values were exported from Britain, and we've lost them all. You're lucky you got your constitution.
Tommy, I cannot imagine what the hell you've been through and what the hell you're continuing to go through. I'm going to put all of these links in here. Is there anything else that you would suggest people do?
Yes. So as I said, what we did was we formed an alliance of alternative media. That's the battle that's coming. Now, you don't have to agree on everything. You're a podcast host. You've got a big platform here, lots of people. American culture, American identity, American safety should be the values of everyone. And if those groups can work together, see, we had to work together. So we bought 15 of us, and then if we press a button now, we can reach a bigger audience than the BBC. Okay. So we had to fight back, and we organised ourselves, and they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. They've lost the monopoly of power but only because you voted for Donald Trump. So even those who don't like Donald Trump, if you still like freedom, you still like free speech, if you hadn't voted for Donald Trump, you'd have been under the tyranny we're under.
Oh my God. This has been an exceptionally chilling warning. I'm going to watch Panorama.
No, I called it Panodrama.
Panodrama. I'm going to watch Panodrama. I'm going to link to all of it. And if I can be helpful, if there's any way I can be helpful.
I think helpful is just these discussions. And I say to all viewers, get rid of Netflix, get rid of Amazon, and start supporting these independent channels all over your country. Doesn't matter if you agree with all of them in sense. Anyone with a live stream camera, anyone out on the street, you're bypassing the lies.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And make sure to let me know what guests you want to see on in the future.